it's not about like, being lazy, like I don't want to work, but it's like sometimes you can't work, or sometimes you do want to take a month and travel with your family, or go eat lunch with your kids at school, or whatever it is you want to do. And having the ability to do that was really like cemented for me.
Hey there, I am Dr. Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast, where we explore the why behind success. Every week, I meet with real estate investors, veterinary entrepreneurs, mindset coaches, authors, and fitness professionals to uncover their why and how it drives them on the winding road to success. What is your why? Hi, everyone. I'm Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast. Today, I'm here with Ashley Garner. He's a seasoned real estate entrepreneur and founder of ABG and Associates and ABG Multifamily. With over 30 years of experience, he's acquired and operated a portfolio of 300 plus apartment units. So, Ashley, as I said, I like to let you tell your story. I think sometimes we get in the bios of experienced real estate investors, and it's like number after number after number, but it doesn't start that way. So, first, I want to say thank you. Thanks for coming on the show today, taking the time out to chat with me. I'm very excited to kind of hear your story and share it with the listeners.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you, Jason. I'm thrilled to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity to share whatever it's worth.
Yeah, absolutely.
So a little bit about me. All I've ever done is real estate. A lot of people, this is a second or a third career, but I kind of grew up literally in the mom and pop world of student rentals and, old houses that we would subdivide internally and make 3 or 4 apartments out of them. So I was, hands on with a hammer and a wrench and doing all those kind of things. And then it kind of progressed to the leasing and the financing. And then, I started on my own account with the normal old single families and duplexes and triplexes. And then I got a 10-unit place, and then the next largest was a 32 unit. In the meantime, I have a small team of real estate brokers that works for me, and we do residential listings and sales. This business to me is all about making my best attempt at controlling my time in pursuit of that financial freedom so that I can do with my life what I want. And I also had a special, but a kind of a big deal happened to me about 8 years ago. And it was a heart attack and cardiac arrest. It was one Monday morning after boot camp class, and that was before work. And, just kind of something didn't feel right. And over the next hour, it just got worse, and ended up, my heart just stopped. So that day it was a big deal, obviously, and kind of changed my life. But one thing it really showed me, it really cemented the importance of being able to, have some income coming in if you weren't able to work. So either if you didn't want to, or in my case, I was not able to. And it really showed me that, hey, this real estate stuff can actually do what all the books say it will do. It can do that.
Yeah. That's, well, so interesting. I mean, as you said, you've kind of always been around real estate, and I think the real estate space is a place where a lot of people come from maybe a completely unrelated career. They come in and they find, whether it's being an accidental landlord or, nowadays you maybe heard something on social media about real estate, whatever the pathway was, a lot of people do come from outside, and it's not, at least on my podcast, I feel like it is a small minority of people that have kind of been in that space always, that was a career path.
Right.
What is interesting on top of that is many people have an event, and it's the event that maybe makes them shift into real estate because they need passive income and they want to have something. You were already in real estate and had that event. So that's, I don't know, we're getting close to 500 episodes, but I think that is a unique story, a unique set of circumstances for sure.
Definitely.
So let's start, kind of back before that
Okay.
happened, and just your background in real estate. Now, uh, are you doing all of this on your own? Have you done all of this on your own? Do you work with investors? Kind of what's been your pathway? I'm sure it
Yeah.
probably started on your own, but what's kind of been your route
Yeah.
there?
So kind of my day job, sometimes I'll refer to was being a residential broker. And,
Mhm.
I quickly realized there that even though like real estate brokers, that we like to say that we don't have a boss and we're our independent contractors and we decide what we do with our time, but it's still a job. And, if you don't take a shower, if you don't get in your car and show people around, you don't make any money. So it's still, you have to clock in just like, a surgeon replacing knees. If you don't show up and replace a knee, you don't get paid.
Right.
And so I developed a small team that would help me with that business. But even then, I still, had this passion for the passive income of owning the rentals. And so as I started to grow that, yes, I did that on my own. Um, and then what happened was, I always had this like, voice in the back of my head, like, life can't be just about, working. And then, when you're finished working, you either retire or you die, and that's all there is. And there's gotta be
Right.
something more to it. Right. So I knew that I needed to scale up and buy more units so that I could have more passive income, so that I could achieve these things and take care of the people that depended on me and try to leave a legacy and whatnot. So that's when I got into the 30 unit places, and I had to use other people's money for that, build a team and do more. And it's funny because I used to tell the people that worked for me, especially in the real estate brokerage, like, look, this can't just be about one person. It can't be about me. If I step off the curb and get hit by a bus, and then this is all over for everybody. For you work for me and you depend on me for your paycheck, and my family depends on me for their income. And then that's when the heart attack came. So it wasn't like getting hit by a bus, but it was kind of the same effect, right? Like it kind of like, whoa. So really then is when I said, okay, well, now I've got to work on my stress management. I've got to change my lifestyle and these types of things. But at the same time, I want to do more. And so that really is when I had to start building the team. Not just people that were like partners of mine, but also, the vendors and people that you would use to be most efficient.
Right.
And so then we went to another 37 unit. And then actually most recently in February was a 196 unit property. And so now we're trying to get, that 200 unit or above and kind of make that our place we play.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a common-ish sort of progression. Like, right, a lot of people start with maybe the smaller properties and then want to graduate up to the larger. But it's yeah, I mean that pathway varies for everybody. It's very, I guess, pertinent in. So you said 8 years ago it was the heart attack.
Yeah. Actually next month, it'll be
Wow.
exactly 8 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, probably right about the time that this comes out. So that's sort of an
Yeah. Right.
interesting timing piece. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to push you into uncomfortable things or what, but I got to imagine that has a lot of impact on your perspective in
Oh yeah.
around business and work and family and everything that kind of goes along with that. And you said you had to change stress levels and all of that. I mean, they're outside of just, hey, maybe I need to think about having things that can provide even if I'm not physically able to do something. Like you've those are probably some pretty big changes to make.
Yeah.
Maybe talk a little bit about that time frame and I guess just the mindset around it.
Are you planning a remodel or construction project? Overwhelmed by the process? Over budget? Extended timelines? Strained relationships? We are all too familiar. At Lark Construction Services, we help homeowners and business owners take control of their construction journey, from reviewing bids and contracts to catching red flags before they become costly mistakes. Our Clarity Audit is a one-on-one expert review of your plans, estimates, or current progress, giving you the peace of mind and a defined action plan to move forward with confidence. Don't let confusion lead to costly errors. Visit larkconstruction.com and schedule your free call today. Lark Construction Services, saving you time, money, and stress.
Yeah, well, and I don't mind talking about it. It's kind of part of my therapy, if you will. You can imagine that something like this is pretty physical, but it's also pretty mental and emotional.
Yeah.
And so, part of the rehab, if you will, is being able to talk about it. So I'm happy to share, and if it helps other people, that's even better.
Sure.
Yeah, really, is weird because you realize, like, when I was in my own little bubble for a few months after that happened, and you realize, like, hey, the world just kind of keeps moving without you. If you're involved, fine. But if you're not involved, the phone calls stop and the emails stop, and then the world just kind of keeps going. So that was pretty heavy to kind of witness and be a part of. At the same time, it was reassuring that I could take the time and rest that I needed because we had the income coming in from the rental properties. Mm-hmm. And so it was that real life thing of, this is one of the reasons people want passive income, right? So they don't necessarily have to clock in. And it's not about, like, being lazy, like I don't want to work, but it's like sometimes you can't work, or sometimes you do want to take a month and travel with your family, or
right.
Go eat lunch with your kids at school, or whatever it is you want to do. Right. And having the ability to do that was really, like, cemented for me. And that's why I knew, like, and then I started doing the math, well, if I need this much, I've got to multiply by this many units. So I've got to get bigger if I want to hit those goals. But then what's funny is when you decide to scale something, if you're not careful, you end right back up in the stress situation of building this big monster, that you've got to feed and manage. So I'm constantly in that battle of, like, all right, remember why I got into this. And it wasn't to create this huge business that I had to feed. It was to have the financial freedom and control of my own time. So that's kind of where I am right now, by the way. I'm trying to scale bigger, but I'm also trying to keep it as a passive thing instead of like a big, huge monster I've got to feed.
Yeah. So, so many really valuable things we can touch on there. I think, you mentioned that life kept going, life around you kept going. And it, mm-hmm. I'm sure it's very humbling. Also, that's the truth, right? Like when we're gone, everybody else is going to keep doing, with the exception of, your family, right? The people that, and you can, it's probably a good exercise to do. Hopefully you don't have an actual event like this, but, like, what happens, right? What happens if I'm gone? Who really cares? And it's like my wife and kids. Beyond that, I have friends that will care, but, like, nobody's life is going to change that much.
That's right.
If I'm gone. And it's very humbling. And also, like you said, like, it can be quite freeing if you can realize that and then create that life mm-hmm. where your family is taken care of mm-hmm. and you aren't the one that has to be making everything happen. And I think that's like, that's the ultimate goal. Like, that's really, we have, all these podcasts and all the people, social media talking about, it's like, oh, trying to get to financial freedom. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's not, there's numbers involved, but really what it is like,
that's right.
This space in life of being able to just step away for whatever amount of time it is you need. And if that's to take care of a health issue, that's one thing. If that's to, as you said, like take your family for a month, that's my like big goal at this point. My kids are young. My goal is to be able to, if we want to, we
Right.
can travel all summer, because
Yeah.
that's when they're free. Like if I want to be able to create something that looks like that. And
Yeah.
so you can use these life events as fuel for the fire, and like, what does it really look like for me to not be there without not being here, right?
Right.
Like, without having that actual exit. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. If you could build some kind of empathy machine, I've often said, like, if everybody could have experienced what I did that day, and without having to actually experience it,
right.
and all of the things that came with it. But if you could feel that feeling and what happened afterwards, then use that in your own life, that would be, what a gift that would be. So, sharing things like this is about the closest I'll come to be able to do that. But that's exactly right. Everything you said is exactly right.
You just watch A Wonderful Life. Is that the the Christmas movie where he has that dream? But but like, this is real stuff that happens to people, right? It's a real, we talk about it a lot, like hypothetically, what would happen if you can't work, and
right.
But it's a to be in that position is something you have to actually build for, and it's not a switch you can flip overnight, so you do have to have this in your consideration. The next thing I want to kind of touch on, you mentioned, is that the idea of scaling so that you can create that life, but also not put yourself back into kind of a big machine that needs to be fed by you and your energy and all of that. How do it sounds nice. How should people maybe even start heading in that direction?
Yeah. Well, it's definitely a challenge because, like I said, I grew up in that world of mom and pop stuff. And when you're in that small business mom and pop mindset, you're literally the guy you're the IT department, you're the finance department, you do have to do everything. And so to break out of that wasn't necessarily natural for me, and it's probably not natural for a lot of people. And it doesn't mean, especially now, it's so great because it doesn't mean necessarily that you have to have W-2 payroll sitting in the room with you. There's so many ways to outsource with technology, with virtual assistants. We have a marketing team, and they're out of India, and we meet once a week on this same video setup, and it's fabulous. But they're so good at what they do. And I'm so bad at the things that they do for me. And so it's a huge win. And so things like that, our CPA and our attorneys, and you just you build your team. And it takes a long time. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time. And I probably could have condensed it. Looking back, you say, well, if I'd have done this differently, I could have made it faster. And that's true. You can always be a passive investor with people like us just to get into the game and say, I want to invest. That's kind of what I did with cryptocurrency. I bought a little bit of Bitcoin just so I would pay attention to it. And, you learn when you have a stake in the game, you pay more attention to it. And so I would encourage people, if they're wanting to get started, you have to just get in the game somehow. I mean, I read every book, I went to every seminar and cruise, and I've done it all. But ultimately, you have to take a step to get started, whether it's buying your own place or investing with someone else. But once you get in the game, I think then you see that, hey, this is real, and hey, I can do this too. Those people are no smarter than I am. If they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah. No, I wish. I'm not sure if people. I guess I don't know the real answer to this question, but I hope that people hear this podcast when they listen, these podcasts, like, you can do it. You can do it. If I did it, someone else can do it. Like, I've made a
Definitely.
million mistakes, and it's like, just kind of keep figuring it out. And I think that's like, other people can do that, can find a way to kind of set themselves up for a little bit more of that freedom.
Right.
As you grow, and you've kind of now, you said 196 unit multifamily, that's going to be kind of where you want to sort of settle, is that type of deal, the around 200 units, is that that kind of what you have your buy box set on now, or what do you see, I guess, kind of as the future for you?
Yeah. And that's kind of what we think, I've got 1,000 units as this goal, but I realize that's just a number, and that's just arbitrary, and it's just a nice round number. What will it mean if I reach that? I'm sure I'll create a new goal, or I may get partway to that goal and decide, I'm good, or I don't want to do that property type anymore. But for now, every time I've stepped up from the triplexes to the 10 unit, which I still own, by the way, bought in 2013, to the 30 units, and now to the almost 200 units, it just is amazing. Like the effect that multiplier has. It works on expenses too, by the way. Just makes your expenses that much, you spend that much more money on expenses.
Yeah.
But if you do your underwriting right, and the math is the same for the triplex as it is for the 200 unit, it's the same spreadsheet, just with a bigger number in it. So yeah, that's
yeah. You until you start buying larger commercial properties, you don't realize what a insurance bill or a property tax bill can look like. I know what ours are, and then I think about people that are buying 400 or 500 unit apartment complexes, and it's like those are very real large bills. And so but the numbers are the same, or the spreadsheet's the same. You just have to be a mistake in those numbers maybe matters a little bit more. How about that's the way
the stress level can get, it can get bigger too when that weight, you're borrowing $20 million or something, that seems like, oh my gosh, that's huge. But I don't know what they're going to do if it doesn't work out. I don't own any, like my car isn't worth $20 million, so they come and take it. They'll just take the property, and that's good. It's not a personal guarantee at that point. So in that regard, it's a little bit less stress.
Yeah. There's definitely some nuances in commercial real estate that are, I guess, both advantageous and scary at the same time. So it's kind of it's a different beast, but at the end of the day, that is kind of the way that you can scale. Because otherwise, it's great. People do it by, many single family or duplex, or even 6 or 10 units. But then you have essentially a different problem where it's, okay, how are you going to manage all of these smaller properties?
That's right.
Versus I'm going to have, 1 or 2 on-site management people with a team behind them on a, 200 unit property. So it's all just a management of expectations and
that's right.
problem solving. So it's
but I don't know anybody. I really think this is a true statement, not just trying to make a point. Assuming that they use the sound logic and conservative underwriting, and just didn't do something silly. I don't know anybody that regrets getting into this investment game. Even if they didn't take it to 1,000 unit level, even if they just stopped at 1 or 2 townhomes that they rent out, I've never heard anybody say, gosh, that was stupid, I shouldn't have done that. If anything, they just say, whoa, I should have bought more. I should have bought more sooner. And so, sometimes it takes them a while to get in, but once they get in, they always want to go more, it seems to me, from observing.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think it is very, once you take that action and kind of realize what can be achieved, it is very, I don't know if freeing's the right word, but it does, kind of let you see, it makes it real. It makes it real what, when people say, hey, we're doing, this and we've got 1,000 units or we've got 20,000 units. Some of the real, the real big operators or, whatever Blackstone had, I don't know, probably hundreds of thousands of units. But I mean, you hear about those things and it sounds almost like it's fiction. But then you start to do it and you meet other people who are doing it. And it's like, oh yeah, we bought, 200 units, we bought 400 units, we bought,
Right.
But it's really just not that different. And especially once you sort of develop a team and a system, it becomes kind of almost second nature. You just have to, like you mentioned, stick to your principles and
That's right.
Do kind of just picking up another asset and plugging it into that formula.
Yeah. And sometimes you just need, building a team is maybe just having somebody to go through it with you, like maybe it's like for me, when I went to the larger property, it was easy. I was able to do it with someone else as opposed to just by myself. And it felt like, you kind of encourage each other, like you hold hands and all right, let's jump off the bridge together, we're in this together. And it gives you a little confidence that you're not just out there doing, like, if they think it's a good idea also, then maybe I'm not just being foolish.
Right. Yeah.
So, that's part of also maybe building your team, that you have a friend or a buddy or a neighbor or something like, hey, let's do this together. And it gives you the confidence to take that step, get started.
Yeah, absolutely. The value of good partnerships, the value of mentorship. I mean, all of that is just, if you can, connect with someone else who is doing what you want to do, maybe even in an ideal world, they're a step ahead of you or something like that, and you can learn from them and then just help provide value to that partnership. I think it's all just so it just speaks to that same message of it starts to ingrain in you that it's real and it is achievable, and that it's I think the saying about real estate has created more millionaires than anything else. It's I think a lot of that just comes from seeing that it's real and having other people in the space show you that it's real and you give it a shot. So
That's right.
Definitely do need to then kind of get started and do something, get a foot in the game.
Yeah, and the why is definitely important. It's for some people it's so I can take a selfie in front of my Ferrari and post it on Instagram, and that's fine if that's your why. I mean, to me, it's not, but whatever it is, it's got to be, you can almost watch people if they don't have if that why is kind of hollow, and cause you can make the money, and then you realize, well, the money is, it's pretty cool and you can do fun stuff with it. But if you don't have like a other whys than that one loses its flavor pretty quick.
Yeah. I think, it's money being your why might make some sense in the beginning, just as a motivational factor.
For sure.
But I don't think it will keep you going when you hit a rough patch.
Yeah.
I don't think when you face challenges and maybe you lose some of that money, like I don't think that is enough to keep driving forward beyond things that happen, which is a perfect segue into asking you, kind of as I mentioned with the name of the show being Know Your Why. I do ask every guest, what is your why? And I think I've gotten some of that message from you as we've spoken, and obviously you've experienced a medical event that not a lot of people have, but it is certainly one of the I think things that gets talked about in that, hey, you probably should think about ways to invest in your future, and because the reality is this stuff does happen.
Yep.
It does happen, and if it doesn't, awesome, but it does happen, and so just being prepared for it in some way, I think is really a really smart move to make. So Ashley, what is your why? What's kind of driving you at this point?
Yeah. Well, and so right now, I have a 9-year-old son and a 13-year-old daughter. And so my wife and I and the kids, we can do lots of things now. And so that's a big part for me, to be able to, so that I don't have to say, I'm sorry, daddy can't go fishing today because I have to work until, 8 to 5 every day, or
Right.
I can only take 1 week of vacation. And again, I say this with all the respect. I don't mean to down anybody that's in that situation, but it has always been to me that I didn't want to be confined by that. And so I worked towards that. And then I didn't really believe that I had achieved it until, 8 years ago. And then I got to see it in action, and that was my drug. Then I became really hooked on it. Like, okay, this is real. You can make a difference in your own life. If, you have to have a little bit of luck or a little bit of grace or whatever it is you want to call it, because you can't do it all by yourself.
Right.
But if you work with that intent, then yes, it is possible. Now one of my whys is also sharing this with other people, to say, because I see and I talk to people who, that I can tell they want to make a change, or they may be even so verbal about, like, I want something different. And you just have, okay, well then you just have to do something. You can't just want it. You actually have to take some steps and do stuff. And so if I could, give somebody that motivation or that confidence or whatever it is, and say, look, this knucklehead can do it, I can definitely do it, then that's great. And another thing too is, when the wheel stops spinning, if you're the only person or the only source of any kind of financial income, and that wheel stops spinning, well, guess what? It's over. Like there is no more that comes in. And
Right.
that, I don't know that I'm necessarily building yet for 4 generations from now, but it sure would be nice to know that at least my wife and kids could survive. And, you can work towards generations after that of, setting a good example and laying a good groundwork. That stuff is possible. It's not just for those, special elite families out there. Ordinary people can do that too.
Yeah. And I think that the being that sole source of income is certainly, I think it's probably a little bit addicting in the sense that you're like, no, I have to keep working because I have to create this. I have to take care of my family and all of that. And like motivationally, very well intentioned, but the problem by doing that and being kind of stuck in that without thinking about, kind of anything else is that's exactly right. If you're gone, or not even gone, like, I don't, like, you break a leg, you get something that puts you out of work for a period of time.
Right.
Like,
Right.
there are things that can, and you don't get to work for, say, a month, that can create a tremendous hardship and set you back if you haven't kind of been building for that. And so that's where this stuff comes from, where we talk about this a lot on the podcast. I'm sure, you talk a lot about it with your network, is just, it's almost like another insurance policy, I guess, in the sense that you're building something that will take care. And then as far as that, generational wealth and legacy and all, I think, and I guess I'd love to hear your opinion on this. I think the best thing I can do outside of just making sure they're going to be okay if I'm gone is educating them. And, my kids, my grandkids, if I see that, you know what I mean? Like that kind of, like, I think that's the biggest impact that you can have on your own family's legacy, is like just understanding these principles, because I didn't know them. I certainly don't know everything still, but like taking an interest in learning everything I can about sort of creating a structured life that allows us to have, some freedom from, like, whether you have a W-2 job or not. Lots of people like their W-2 job. That's like, please keep doing that, but just realize that there's other things that you can, kind of add to the puzzle, if you will. So I think, what is your take on, kind of the generational component, the what can we do, sort of impact outside of like, oh, if I'm sick or I pass away, there's something here that keeps them going for, until they can take care of themselves. But like, do you do anything? I guess I'll ask you in a maybe a better way. Do you do things with your kids to help them understand kind of, oh, it's cool, Daddy can take us fishing, but like, do you help them understand why that is the case?
Yes. I try to walk that fine line of making sure that they're aware of that and can at least know where and how it, or what it comes from, whether they are interested right now in the nuts and bolts of it, or like this stuff I've got written back here, maybe not quite yet,
right.
But for sure, that they know that, hey, this isn't just by accident. This is a lot of luck, and it's a lot of grace of God or whoever it is you believe in. But it's if I didn't take these steps, then this wouldn't be possible.
Right.
I've had more failures than successes, but if so my son and daughter, they obviously know who people like Michael Jordan are and all these, these famous athletes, and they have these quotes, and we've got them on our refrigerator. It's the same thing, right? How many shots do you miss versus how many shots do you make? And you always miss more than you make. But the trick is you just keep shooting them. Right. And so that stuff is huge, really, and to know that, hey, you don't have to be just stuck in this situation that you're in. If you don't like something, then all right, let's figure out how to change it. And hopefully, you can change it. And most of the time we can affect our situation one way or the other. And most of the time too, if you do nothing to change it, it's probably not going to change.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's
so then I definitely like to teach them that,
Yeah. That's that is so well stated. Like, it sounds very simple, but like that's 100%. That is the key, right? If we don't do anything, it's definitely not going to change. So It's kind of like, let's do something and see what that change leads to. I think, I'm always just fascinated by other parents' take on, entrepreneurship and things. 'Cause it's, one of the things I think that we throw out there a lot in the entrepreneur world and real estate world is like, I don't have to answer to a boss to take a vacation and blah, blah, blah. And it's true. I don't have to answer to a boss, except I do. It's me, it's my investors. It's, cause you still have things. And it's like, for example, this morning, my daughter was having a rough time before school, and she's like, Daddy, can you drive with us? Mm-hmm. And I couldn't, because I'm recording podcasts and I have a commitment to the people that I'm recording podcasts with this morning. And I said, I can't, Daddy has meetings, but I will make sure I am there to pick you up this afternoon. And so it's kind of like teaching them that it's a tough line to balance. And I'm sure I mess it up all the time, but like teaching them that responsibility, but also like I can pick and choose. I mean, I could, if I wanted to, cancel my podcast, but I feel there's responsibility to those people.
Which is also important to teach, of course. Yeah.
Right.
Of course.
So yeah, it's just kind of balancing all that. I think that it's a constant, kind of learning. I don't know. It's a constant learning curve when it comes to, kind of doing the right things. I love listening to other parents on other podcasts as well. And I heard, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he has had a lot of success in the business world, like business acquisition, growth, selling, exits. You know, he's very wealthy at this point. And that was what the podcast was mostly about. But I think he said he has 4 kids. And the host asked him, like, how do you balance that? And what he said, what I thought was like such a simple thing, but also kind of brilliant, is he said, I tell them I'm here for half of whatever you want. And so, meaning, like, he's not trying to just leave his kids a pile of money, but he's also not trying to just completely deny the fact that his success can trickle down to them. And so he's like, I'm there for half of what they want. If they want to buy, you know, a $20,000 used car, they have to come up with $10,000. If they want to buy a, you know, $80,000 luxury vehicle, they have to come up with $40,000. And like, basically just a way to have them have ownership in it, but also, like kind of what's the point of doing all this if we don't get to share of it with our family?
Yeah, enjoy it and share it, but don't just give it to them and make them, you know, make them worthless freeloaders. They have to understand. They have to understand the responsibility and the power of work, or what it means to earn something. Yeah.
I just thought that was such a smart way of handling that created wealth, because I do know, like, statistically they say like a large percentage of wealth is lost by the 3rd generation. Like on a self-made wealth scale, like it gets to the 2nd generation, and by the time the 3rd generation after that comes along, like it's been lost. And that's why I think that's a thing to be
that's
studied
good
and
advice.
understood.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I think about that a lot, because you want to succeed, and that's one of the things you want to be able to provide. But at the same time, you don't want them to grow up and not know the value of all of these things, and just to be wasteful. Yep.
No,
that's a good point. Yeah, it's a very good point.
Tricky science to figure out, but it's definitely that I always it comes up a lot, because I find it, you know, sort of fascinating and obviously.
Well, I'm grateful to be I'm grateful to be able to be a part of those kind of conversations, for sure.
Yeah. No, it's great. So with that, Ashley, I'll say thank you for coming on the show. It's been a great conversation. I think some just incredibly valuable points in understanding, you know, designing your life, business, preparing for the worst, but enjoying, you know, kind of the journey that we're on. When people hear this and they want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to reach out?
Probably the best way would be just the website is abgmultifamily.com. There are others, but, you know, if you get to that point, you can connect to all of the other ways to be in touch, and love to hear from anybody.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes so people can find you. But yeah, thank you for coming on the show. Thanks for conversation and everything that you shared. I really enjoyed it.
Well, Jason, I appreciate the opportunity, and maybe our paths will cross again.
Oh yeah, for sure. Next time I'm on the North Carolina coast, for sure we can we can
come on
some coffee or lunch or something.
I'd love to.
Yeah. Thank you again, and thank you folks for listening. Make sure you connect with Ashley. Make sure you like, rate, and review the show so we can continue to get more great guests. And as always, thank you for listening.
Hey there, I am Dr. Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast, where we explore the why behind success. Every week, I meet with real estate investors, veterinary entrepreneurs, mindset coaches, authors, and fitness professionals to uncover their why and how it drives them on the winding road to success. What is your why?